Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. It's a true honor and pleasure, and especially as we are going to speak on a very sensitive topic, and we are aware of the fact that the topic is sensitive. A brilliant novelist and author of books for children who received a Joseph Conrad Literary Award and after the break of a war, full-scale Russian war, she worked as a researcher documenting crimes committed by Russia on Ukrainian earth. Victoria Amelina died on July 1st, 2023 in an absurd and nonsense attack performed by Russian troops. She had a meeting in a pizza house. It wasn't a building of any strategic importance. It wasn't an infrastructure building. It was a civil building attacked by Iskander missile. There are no words that can express the loss of our friend, and we will simply honor her memory with a moment of silence. Thank you. And Lyuba, we will start our probably tough conversation with you as someone whose country is engulfed by this, and now I'm again missing proper adjectives, terrifying, terrible, idiotic, absurd war. Please provide us your perspective.
Hello everyone, I'm honored to be here and I'm really happy to see you, every one of you. Thank you for being here. And talking about language of war, as a poet, I probably will talk you about language itself, because language, it's things which reflects our life as a mirror. Yes, we invented words for everything, for our external reality and for our internal reality. External reality, for instance, table. We invent a table as a sword to express this stuff for us, and also about our feeling like love, hate, and so on. And language, it's incredible things. And when reality is changing, language as a mirror also is changing. And now in Ukrainian language, but not only in Ukrainian and English as well, I'll give you an example on this topic. We have kind of shift in word meaning. What do I mean? I'll give you example from Ukrainian reality, and talking about meaning changing. I can remember the word electricity. Electricity is something which we have which we treated for granted. It's like something given us for granted. Yes, we didn't mention that now we have electricity everywhere. You can see this stuff which works. It's probably winter, I believe so. But electricity also can help us to refresh and so on. And before war, we just took it for granted. But after, for instance, full-scale invasion, war was started in Ukraine in 2014, full-scale invasion in 2022. And after full-scale invasion, our authority, I was in Kyiv at the time, and Kyiv was partially on the siege by Russian troops were nearby, were 50 kilometers from my house, and our authority told us to cover our windows from electricity light because it's dangerous to show our cities through electricity to our enemies, which is nearby. And we just cover these windows or do not use electricity in the evening and at night. And electricity became something which is dangerous for us. This meaning was changed a little bit. It was a shift in the meaning. And as a writer, I didn't actually know how to work with this language, which is changing all the time. For instance, we can find in a bathroom, because no windows in bathroom or corridors, and these places became a kind of safe places for us. We call these places safe places because it's just a room in our building where we can hide from Russian bombing, and probably it can save our life when the building will attack or so on. But after Russia started destroy our electricity infrastructure, they became it in October 2022. We just had, and we have just, and now we have a lack of electricity. We have electricity outages because we do not have enough in our infrastructure, and lots of things, lots of electricity plants are destroyed by Russia, and all the time we're trying to renovate it, but it's not possible, and we still have this lack, and Russia destroyed it again and again, and electricity became something really valuable for us. I remember call of my mom. She after a week without electricity at all in Poltava region, this is central part of Ukraine, she called me and say me, we have electricity today. It was like something amazing, miracle happened, or we have lots of money because something miracle happened. You know, it was really something valuable. She could charge phone and call me, for instance, and have connection between us, restore this connection. This is something valuable, and in this way language is changing all the time, but it's not only this. Also we cannot use right now in Ukraine, it's like not possible, kind of war metaphors, or even Cold War metaphors, or not only this. For instance, this before the war we can say I'm bombed. This is мене бомбить. It means you are irritating in Ukrainian language, and like teenagers use this expression. But after full-scale invasion we cannot say this because it means I'm bombed. It's really we were bombed and we still have been bombing right now, and this is you can create a misunderstanding with people, and that's why we cannot use it. Also, we can say, even in English language, it's changed. It's not understandable as if I will say you like Putin went nuclear. This is expression which means he became he drive crazy or something like this, but if I will use it, it means that something really nuclear, the Russians use nuclear bombs or missiles, but it's dangerous to say like this because people can be distracted, and also I cannot say I'm deadly tired and so on. Culture of front, we used use this before, and now we try to avoid it because it's not ethical to say right now culture of front, because on real front, war front, people are dying. And also we have grammar, even grammar change in our language, and even how to write, how to use letter. We don't use capital letters. Even Ukrainian media sometimes do not use capital letters.
But I do believe in two things, actually. I believe in the victory of Ukraine in this war. First, I believe that Russia and Russian government cannot monopolize the Russian language. Russian language do not owned by any country. So I come from Kazakhstan. I belong to third generation of people who came to Kazakhstan. I have a Polish roots. I have different roots, actually, Chavash roots also, and I use Russian language as an instrument of expression, my feelings, my thoughts, and I belong to Russophonia, the society of people who was born, who live now abroad, outside Russia, but using Russian language in an ordinary life, but not only using. There are writers was born outside Russia. There are Russian-speaking Russophone writers in the United States, in Australia, in Europe, in the post-Soviet countries. Of course, that means Russian language there not only in use, but also growing, also alive. And I think now Russian language that I use, I can be served for the resistance of this war, of this conflict. And I have an example how I use it in Kazakhstan. So this is my collection of my poems, and in Kazakhstan we use Russian language for rethinking our post-colonial past, our Soviet past. And I will finish with a poem, with my poem translated into English language, which is called Asharshilik. Asharshilik is a Kazakh word for Kazakh famine in the beginning of 20th century. This was an artificial famine, same as in Ukraine, conducted by Soviets to decrease the population of Kazakh. So we lost 4 million people because of this famine. And this is my rethinking of my Kazakhstani identity. Asharshilik. Each spring, my family plant potatoes. Every year, like clockwork, guided by my grandpa's genetic memory brought from afar. And if you think the USSR lacked potatoes, no, we had plenty, more than ever. Then in the autumn, we would dig up the same 4 bags of completely different potatoes, and half would rot in winter. Grandpa never figured out another way to live on this land with no roots. He would take an accordion, play drinking songs, and raw voices of old women became a requiem for the potatoes in the basement under our feet. Thank you.
Just one real microphone.
Just one. No. We've got plenty. So I'm happy to pass the actual microphone to Urszula, and of course our Polish perspective is going to be different. But still, we are a frontline country. We experienced changing realities caused by a war that's happening in the territory of our neighbor. And for instance, writers, fugitives, among whom are writers from Ukraine, are in large numbers now in Poland. What changed, because we speak about the currents of change, what changed for you? What is your situation as a Polish writer in the face of a war happening at the neighboring country?
Dzień dobry Państwu. Ja od razu przyznam, że to jest dla mnie bardzo emocjonalnie trudna sytuacja, kiedy siedzę obok ludzi, którzy piszą w języku oprawcy lub też mieszkają w kraju, który został zaatakowany.
Hello, at first I would like to say that for me it is very emotionally difficult to sit next to people who either are writing in the language of the oppressor or are people from the country that was attacked.
Mam też takie bardzo głębokie poczucie, że to jest po prostu tak blisko, że nie może być nam obojętne. Zresztą nieważna jest odległość.
And also I have a feeling that all that is happening so close to us that we simply cannot be indifferent to us. It cannot be indifferent to us. We cannot be indifferent to it. And even if we were further from it, we shouldn't be indifferent to it either.
Myślę, że takie pierwsze rzeczy, które pojawiły się w Polsce, to na pewno ta uwaga skierowana na literaturę ukraińską zawsze była, ale wiadomo, że w obliczu wojny ona zawsze się natęża.
In fact, the focus of Polish people on Ukrainian literature was always present, but something that happened after the war was the fact that this focus got even more intense.
Oczywiście pojawia się też to wielkie pytanie o literaturę rosyjską i właściwie co zrobić w takiej sytuacji.
And of course also this big question concerning Russian literature emerges and what to do in this situation with Russian literature.
No i mam takie poczucie, że bez Dostojewskiego przeżyjemy, ale Ukraina przede wszystkim potrzebuje też wsparcia nie tylko sąsiadów, ale w ogóle całego świata.
And I have a feeling that we can somehow live without Dostoevsky, but Ukraine needs support not only from its neighbors, but also from the whole world.
Jeszcze tak sobie myślę, że oczywiście to zoomowanie, spojrzenie na Ukrainę teraz jest intensywne w Polsce na literaturę ukraińską, natomiast zawsze też zadaję sobie pytanie, czy to musi być w obliczu takiej katastrofy, czy nie możemy być bardziej na siebie uważni.
And of course, when I think about this focus on Ukrainian literature that is so much more intense now in Poland, I also ask myself this question: do we need war to be more focused on somebody else's literature? Cannot be more sensitive to each other even without the war?
Też oczywiście ukraińscy pisarze znajdowali wsparcie też w Polsce w postaci różnych rezydencji literackiej i tak dalej, ale ja mam też tę świadomość, że jesteśmy grupą uprzywilejowaną.
Of course, Ukrainian writers had some opportunities to find support in Poland, like writing residencies, but I also am aware of the fact that we are a privileged group.
I dla mnie zawsze najważniejsze pytanie jest takie, co z ludźmi, którzy nie mogą wyjechać?
For me, the most important question is always, what about the people who cannot get out of Ukraine?
Dziękuję.
Thank you.
This question is going to haunt us like for many days, weeks, years. This is one of the most fundamental questions. Thank you, Lyuba, for sharing your perspective. Like we are halfway of our time, but thank you for sharing your perspective from Ukraine. Thank you, Yuriy, for adding the perspective of a difficult identity of a writer, identity of the writer in Kazakhstan. Thank you, Ula, for the voice of bringing up those who are still in Ukraine. And Lyuba, you wanted to add something?
Thank you, colleagues. Yeah, I want to add about Russian language. Probably, I don't know if you know or you know don't know, but Ukraine has been colonized by Russia for 3 centuries. And this is really similar situation as yours. And in Ukraine, lots of people were forced to speak Russian, and we lost, like part of Ukrainian people lost Ukrainian as a native language, as a mother tongue. And talking about this, I can also talk about my family. My family, I remember as my grandfather speak Ukrainian language, but my father, my grandfather spoke Ukrainian language, but my father used to speak Russian language. And I was raised in Russian-speaking family, but I refused at the one moment, as I understand that we were colonized. It was 2008 when I realized I was already a student, and I realized that we were colonized, and I refused to speak Russian language. And at that time, I already wrote poems in Ukrainian language. I was raised in Russian-speaking family, in Russian-speaking city, but in villages, people speak Ukrainian language. And my grandmother, when she retired, she switched from Russian to Ukrainian because she didn't need to go to work and speak English. I said to speak Russian language, but situation is really similar as your situation. And we were forced, Russian government, Soviet government, and Russia itself create artificial famine in Ukraine in 1932-33, and we had lots of really bad events. And now my city is under occupation since 2014. And in my family house, Russian soldiers lives because she decided he want to live in our family house, private house where I was born and raised. And this is a situation I cannot accept it, Russian language as a language for my works, for my writing, for my family. And my son, he was born in 2010. He already didn't know Russian language. I spoke with him in Ukrainian language. And since that time, my family, my parents started to speak in Ukrainian with him because they want to be friendly with him and to want to be like close with my son. And now my family speak in Ukrainian, and this is also like our way to fight with this with Russia as a country which wants to occupy us, and Russia wants to occupy us in case to make Russians from us. Your colonizer said you will never be like us. You are different. You second sort of people. It's not true, but they said this to you. Our colonizers, Russia, said us, you aren't different. You are us. You cannot be different. You cannot be Ukrainian. You are small Russians. They call us small Russians, and they call our language small Russian language, not Ukrainian. And they do not give us opportunity during this colonizational period to be yourself. And now they want to continue this war, which waged already for 300 of years. But we don't want to be Russian, and also language is our approach to resist and to be yourself and to understand who we are. And that's why language is really important for us, Ukrainian language. And I understand Kazakh's perspective because we used to be like this. We used to be like Cossacks, and we believe we can create everything in two languages. And I also tried to write in Russian when I was a child. We tried to do this, but it's not. Now we understand because of this catastrophe, because of this genocidal war which Russia created in Ukraine. We understand that we cannot be Russia, and we should keep them in cultural, even in culture, on distance. That's why I cannot imagine then in Ukraine I will write in Russian somehow. I probably if you hear this think about me, you should know I go crazy or I have dementia or so on. But when I'm aware and when I'm healthy and now I'm living in Kiev, in that time I cannot afford yourself to write in Russian. And lots of Ukrainians switch from Russian to Ukrainian. Still, there are lots of people who speak Russian, who speak Tatars, who speak Greek, German, and many languages. Actually, Israeli Ukraine situation is multicultural, and everything is fine with us. But politically, we explain yourself, and you feel yourself like politically, all of us, even Russian-speaking people, of course, all of us are Ukrainians. So it looks like this.
Thank you for this important contribution. I wanted to continue what Lyuba started and use for a question to you, Yuriy, and to you, Ula. Because Ula, you, in the opening ceremony, you said that you don't believe that literature can win wars or abolish dictatorships. But at the same time, the natural question arises: what can literature do, and what should literature do in the face of war? Because it cannot remain indifferent, definitely.
Oczywiście podtrzymuję to, co powiedziałam, że żadna literatura nie jest w stanie powstrzymać wojen i dyktatury.
Of course, I support what I have already said, that literature is not able to suppress war or dictatorship.
Wierzę natomiast w coś w znacznie mniejszej skali, to znaczy, że dzięki literaturze czujemy się po prostu też chyba mniej samotni.
But I believe in something of a much smaller scale, that thanks to literature we probably feel less lonely.
Lecz mówię to z perspektywy osoby, która nie jest w kraju dotkniętym wojną.
But I say it from a perspective of a person who does not live in a country affected by the war.
Wyobrażam sobie, że pisarze, pisarki, poeci z Ukrainy mogą mieć perspektywę zupełnie inną.
I can imagine that writers and poets from Ukraine can have a very different perspective on that.
Więc tak, upatruję przede wszystkim, mówię to z własnego doświadczenia i jakby tylko z mojej osobistej, bardzo prywatnej perspektywy, że literatura sprawia, że czuję się mniej samotna i też ważne jest to, że literatura jest demokratyczna, jest dostępna dla wszystkich.
So what I say, I say strictly from my very private, personal perspective, but for me, literature is something that makes me feel less lonely, and also what is important for me is the fact that literature is democratic in a way, so it is accessible to everyone.
To tyle. Dziękuję.
That's it. Thank you.
Yuriy, what can literature do? What should literature do?
I also do not believe that literature can stop any war, and culture also can stop any war. But I think we can use our writing for describing the moment. This is our obligation to describe the moment where we are live. This is the first thing, and another thing that I'm thinking about it now in my head. So I think we can use any language for resistance, for writing, for translating, for expressing our feelings, our thoughts. Speaking about Russian language, particularly in Kazakhstan, there are many books in Russian language of contemporary literature written by Kazakh ethnic writers, because as Lyuba said, Ukraine is a multicultural country, and Kazakhstan is also a multicultural country. We use Russian language as a communication language in Kazakhstan, and there are a part of population, of Kazakh ethnic population who do not speak Kazakh language, since the war accelerated the process of popularity of Kazakh language in between any ethnic group in Kazakhstan. So during the Soviet period, we in Kazakhstan, we created our own mentality, and as an Asian, I think about future now, about the future of the language, because right now it's a very sensitive topic. Of course, when I see the picture of killed Ukrainian child killed by Russian bombs, Dostoevsky is the last thing I'm thinking about. But speaking about the future of languages, colonizers come and gone, but languages stays. So probably this.
Thank you. Now it's time for you to join our discussion, and if there are any Qs, we are trying to have some A's, so Q&A session. And while we experienced on very we had a demonstration that freedom of speech requires our support and electricity. So please support the freedom of speech while at the same time respecting the feelings of others. Please join us in the discussion. Go ahead. Do we have any questions, comments?
See, I am much saddened to hear the first-hand knowledge of people very close to Ukraine. But as you guys have said, words have lost its cutting edge. Words can no more bleed anybody. That is the reality of the present day world, right? All over the world. Politicians everywhere have grown demonic. So nothing can really prevent them from doing any nasty, heinous crimes. So we should find out some way for the word seekers all over the world to unite in one or other way, and fight for our real rights, or to recreate the power of words like it was there in the past. So it is time for all the words lovers to wake up and find out the real strength of words. That is what I would say.
Thank you for your perspective. I believe there was no actual question, but maybe any one of you want to comment on the appeal to reclaim the power of words.
Yeah, you're right. Talking about literature, literature is a power, of course. Literature is a soft power. Soft power is a part of power, politician power. Everything is politics, and literature also is politics. Of course, we know, like, we can divide our society into politics and not politics, but Ukraine resists, because we were together during full-scale invasion, just people, volunteers. Me too. I stayed in Kyiv till the middle of March, and I was a volunteer there. And every one of us tried to help and to resist. And without politics, without politicians, and without society, we couldn't stop the Russian attack. And we couldn't deliberate Kyiv and Oblast as the central power of Ukraine. They wanted to occupy Kyiv. And we couldn't resist without this. Sometimes in bad times, we need to be together, and we need to control, of course, our politics. Because without our control, they, of course, they want to grow money, and they want to make from us people who help them grow money, of course. But we feel this internal power in us, in Ukrainians, to control also our government, our politicians, and understanding that together we can do more, but under our control.
Hello, I'm Elena, a first-year college student. And yeah, I mean, Russia-Ukraine war has been in the news for quite some time now. But what do you think about, international influence on the Russian-Ukraine war. How do you think has been the international community helping Ukraine? And is that enough? And in the future, how can literature be powered in such a way that the reality of Ukraine or the situation of the Ukrainians can reach out to international audience? Because I personally feel like maybe the like Ukrainian literature is not getting the recognition it deserves, if I'm right. Because personally, I feel like there's not enough access. So there needs to be more translations or more along those lines. So what do you think needs to be done? And how do you think the international community has responded to the crisis in Ukraine?
Yes, for me, thank you for your question, really deep question. Of course, talking about support, it's never enough, but support is really huge, and really we exist because of whole world support. Like, I mean, of course, I'm talking about country who support Ukraine, because there are countries like Iran or China in these days, North Korea, who support Russia. And now on Ukrainian territory, we have also North Korean troops. You probably know about it if you follow situation. So talking about this support, talking about culture, you mentioned also culture. Now Ukraine used to be just an object. Ukraine became a subject. We already have more and more voices abroad, and now I'm here. You can hear my opinion on this situation, and this is also part of support. India support Ukraine as well. But probably you know that India have kind of agreement with Russia, and you already got Russian missiles recently, and I know it was before, and I know like 2 years ago Russia tried to sell you like spoiled and not really in good condition these missiles, but it also can be dangerous later. You need to control your government, and you need to follow situation to understand what's going on, because everyone who is in this union with Russia, they also are endangered, because Russia can manipulate it and can make you also part of this war in their side, and to just be careful with them, and think about your wellness, and not about how to help Russia. And talking about this, of course, we have lots of support, but sometimes support which was like we already had agreement about this support, they didn't. Sometimes they do not came in Ukraine. For instance, we had such kind of situation that Ukrainian nearly mobilized soldiers do not have equipment, because European Union didn't give this promised equipment, and everything which we do not have. This is Ukrainian society who, using donation, our own donation, try to like cover everything which Ukrainian army needs. And me personally, every month I donate 10% of my income. Of course, I pay taxes, but more, I knew foundation, or I knew volunteers, some of them are writers, who try to help our army and help really effectively. I donate just my money. And my teenage son also, he has some little own money, which I give him to buy something at school or so on. And he also support Ukrainian battalions and donate this money for them. You know, this is Ukrainian society work like this, and we exist because we work like this. This is part of our culture already, to support our army, to support our soldiers, and to help in all ways which we can do. But of course, without international support, we cannot exist at all. And thank you for being here. This is also support, and you can share information you heard here, and this is also support, because this is. in other way of support, but this is also helpful for us to keep people aware about war, genocidal actually war in Ukraine. Thank you for this, every one of you. Thanks.
Our time is up, but the conversation continues. There cannot be. No, sorry. I'm not. Yeah, we've got like time for a short question.
Good evening. You mentioned earlier about the soft media power, the abuse of soft media power by Russia. Could you just tell me a few examples where your Ukrainian works has been threatened, like their points of view has been threatened by the Russian soft media power plays? Like, for example, what I'm talking about is that, for example, in the US, they have movies like Independence Day, you know, things that, movies that make people view them in a very positive light, despite, you know, physical actions differing from what they portray in those movies. And I'm asking that in Russia, as Ukrainians, do you see examples of that in their movies where propaganda is subtly portrayed?
Of course, Russia created already lots of movies about full-scale invasion, and we had lots of scandal. If you need the title, you just can write me, and I'll give you example precisely. But I already just I remember about one of them because I'm working on book about. Ukrainian soldiers. He was on siege in Mariupol in Azovstal plant, and one of the soldiers, all of them were in capacity, and they were in Olenivka prison. They were imprisoned, and Russia created lots of film about the soldiers, imprisoned Ukrainian soldiers, and one of them was directed by Steven Seagal. This is American actors. He used to be an actor. He became actually part of Russia propaganda. Russia used sometimes, even you mentioned America, that's why I reminded. Russia propaganda use also people from different countries, from different states to create propaganda. And he created a really disgusting movie about, and you see it, it's understandable in English with Russian translation invoiced in Russian and with subtitle, and it's like he created this story about explosion which was made by Russians in this prison, and he said that it was made by Ukrainians missile which wanted to destroy a prison with own militaries. This is a strange approach. They tried to find arguments why Ukrainian government should do this. We have, of course, evidence that it was made inside, because nowadays we cannot hide this. We can use technology and see even our festival from the sky. Russia used this. Of course, also Russia used literature, and now Russian writers write books about how they are suffering because they cannot live in Russia and they need to escape Russia because they do not support government. But you know how they can compare their suffering with us suffering which they created. This is also, for me, it's unethical, and this is strange. And they also tried to write about our war from their perspective and tried to say that was us who started this war. It's incredible things, but they try to do this. Also, Russia appropriated, it's already for centuries, they appropriated our artists, our writers as well. And for instance, probably you know about Mykola Gogol. This is Mykolai Gogol. This is Ukrainian writer, and Russia took him from Ukrainian literature and said that it was a Russian writer, and everyone know about him about Russian writer. Also, Kazimir Malevich, this is Kiev artist who creates this amazing avant-gardistic black square, and yeah, okay. And Russia also call his work and his yourself as a Russian writer. It's not true, but it's how colonizing works. And thank you for your question. If you need more detail, I can send you. If you need more films, I can send you titles.
Thank you very much. We were truly honored to listen to your lived experiences and to understand your efforts in literature for peace and empathy. Thank you very much. And also, we express our sincere apologies for the power outage. Sorry very much. And also, we were joined by Veronica. She was an interpreter for Urszula. So thank you very much once again to Yuriy, Krzysztof, Lyuba, and also Urszula and Veronica. And we have a memento for Urszula. I would like to call everybody to give the token of love and appreciation to Urszula Honek. Can we have the memento, please? Thank you. Thank you for being here.